Ladies and gentlemen, just some behind the scenes talk by Pedro and I. Oh, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. So glad to be hosting another episode of this great show on this great network on June 25th, 2025. Thank you to everyone that's watching us right now. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate those that start at the beginning and then stick with us through the end. And in the box next to me is my co-host who's making me laugh this morning, Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst. Pedro, what is happening?
Fun day here in the market. Good times had by all. Hope everybody's doing well today. If you guys could do us a quick favor, hit the like and subscribe button and share button. That helps us out so much. It allows people to see us. It brings visibility to the algorithm to say, hey, these guys are funny looking. Send this to other people. So that always helps us out. Thank you guys so much for doing that. We really appreciate you. Also, hit that thumbs up button, whether you're on YouTube, looking at us at X or on Rumble and all the other major streaming platforms. Hitting that thumbs button does help us out, and make a comment saying where you are coming from or where you would like to be.
Let us know. Pedro always wants to be in San Diego or
Santorini.
That's right.
Santorini.
That is right.
Yes.
Pedro, I forgot to post these things in our showroom here.
Well, while you're doing that, let me go over Bitcoin here real quick, and we can talk about it.
All right, as Pedro is bringing that up, just I punted on my normal intro here to get going, but the topic of the day, Pedro, that I'm going to just talk about for a minute to generate a nice video to upload and try to get some more views, is Bitcoin dominance. What is? Let me bring up let's do this right. Pedro, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Bitcoin dominance here. And as you can see, it's Pedro and I here on the screen, along with a girl holding a Bitcoin, which obviously means Bitcoin dominance. But what is it? Why is it important?
Hey, just real quick, are you going to be talking about Bitcoin dominance?
Pedro, I think I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin dominance.
Oh, like okay. It's just because you only said it 5 times and within like 2 sentences. So
I kept wanting. I pick a spot to grab the beginning of the video. When I cut it out.
Completely ruined it.
Right.
Go ahead.
As I said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about Bitcoin dominance today. What is it? Why is it important? People are talking about it a lot right now because altcoins pretty much suck butts right now because Bitcoin dominance is strong. And we'll let you know why people keep using this term and what to look for. If you want your altcoins to pump, something's got to happen, and Bitcoin dominance has to come down. We'll bring up the charts, tell you what it means, and we'll get to that later. But Pedro's going to talk about B and the T and the C right now.
I am. So, Tom, I am sending you something. So check your Telegram here real quick. So let's check out our nice little play here. And this is getting just gross what they're doing. It really is. All right, so we see this downtrend here, and we see this uptrend here. Now, this downtrend, we had a good amount of seller volume, okay? And this correlates to this right here. Now that we're going up here, and again, if the market's going up, what do? We go long. But always be ready for a quick turn on if we have less volume, i.e., from Monday to today. Literally yesterday, we had hardly any volume sitting in right here. And today, we have really low volume. The most will probably finish up around here unless something is said or done. But Bitcoin right now is not having a lot of buyers that's pushing it up. So with that, I always am skeptical to go long, and I'll just wait it out. Just simply because I like reassurance, many other products that I can trade outside of Bitcoin. And so I'm ready. With that said, be ready, guys. I expect, I hate to say it again, because this is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but I didn't think we might hit it, but I'm going to show this zone right here. And so we could come back and test this area that we have, okay? The reason why I would look for this zone is because we have a lower low, low. So we have the low, the lower low. Even if it was just by a tick, it's still a low, and that's important to understand. You're like, oh, it's just a double bottom. No, it's not a double bottom. It's a lower low. And those small nuances is what I look at. Let me know if the market will come back down to test that. And so it's important little detail that I bring up that gets overlooked, but you need to understand if you're looking at the market, this is what you need to see. And so, and I learned that from a man who had almost 50 years in the market. 50 years. And he started on the floor of in the 1970s. No, 81, forgive me. It was in 81 is when he started, and he just died recently. So God rest your soul. Bob Dunn, pouring out for you. I guess not 50, 40 years. So you have 40
that's a lot.
Yeah, 40 plus years. And his last 10 years, or 10, 15 years, he started transitioning into computer trading. But he had many years, and one of the things...
Got to be careful with that word transition now, Pedro.
Oh, yeah. He evolved into the computer system, and it took him a while, but he figured it out. But what's interesting, he always said this, and it was so important, right? He goes, if we made a new low, I don't care if it's by a tick, it's still low. And so you need to pay attention to that, because it will most likely come down and retest that. And he goes, especially if it's on a big volume day, that's something you need to pay attention to. And to point out, you can see here that all the other days were like this. You see that the average volume was sitting right here. This is the blue line. Yeah, look at this big old day of volume. We literally almost tripled. And look, that's this day. And so you can see here, there was a lot of volume coming down here. So then we came back down. So now this is a lower low with big volume. And now, and I'm pointing this out with this day, which is similar. You can see lower low or higher low. Now we're going to put in the second lower low. So most likely we're coming up into this area right here, or this area right here for the lower high. So let's point out some of the directions we can sit there and see. We'll sit here and play that and pull that up. We'll make that into a red, and that is not a monthly. So we'll see here and see this real quick. Now we're coming up into this area here. So be ready, right? We don't know if it's going to turn around here, but we know that we're having a decreasing amount of buyer volume stepping in and a lot of convictions coming in. So they need sellers, and the best way for them to get sellers is for them to do what, Tom? Drop it lower, right? So with that said, we should see again come back down and take that liquidity, which is going to be right here. And then we have a small little demand zone here. We'll probably hit and play off of it. This is going to be the same area of that 100-day period moving average. And so we'll sit there and play that, which is going to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, behind the scenes, Pedro has given me some news that are popping across the screens, and specifically regarding Jerome Powell. Pedro and I guess we'll talk about that in a little while. He's just regarding the rates. He said he sees higher inflation, and Pedro and I, and see, this is why you need to listen to Powell. And I threw him a little shine the other day, and Pedro said, I listen to every word he says because it's important. One of the things so I listened to him, and one of the things I noticed was that he talked about tariffs causing inflation. And I thought that was important because Pedro and I have gone back and forth about other banks lowering rates, and we haven't. Why? Well, he told us why. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Oh, and I brought that up because it's causing the market to pump, and for some reason, and I'm in a long trade.
But also, I want to bring this up. I keep talking about. We keep going. Well, I've gone over live cattle, but we're going to go over some major commodities, and we're going to sit there and look at these things, from chicken to gold, from grain, chicken, grain, eggs. These things.
More chicken.
Well, but the thing is you can look these up. And if you go to barchart.com, you can sit there and see that we've been in a very bullish trend up on these things. So we keep seeing prices go up. Now, here's the thing. Here's the disparity. Are there outside forces buying up this, who are speculators that are pushing up the charts on these? It could be a nefarious situation where we actually see maybe additional governments outside the United States that want to see harm to come to the United States. So these are some of the things that I wonder, that I'm trying to gauge what's actually happening here, because people aren't buying as much. We know that. And the prices, and in many other places around the country, people are being laid off. People I actually had 3 friends of mine who hit me up and say, hey, I need a job. And I'm like, I can hire you. Just like, it's gonna not, it's not like
Pedro's hiring, ladies and gentlemen. All levels, executive levels, the entry level.
Just small. Anyways, so the reason why I say this is I'm having friends who are laid off. I'm having friends who are being subsidized their hours. So if they were working 40, they're now dropping down to 45, if not 32. 35, if not 35 to 32 hours on a weekly basis, or pay rate cuts, where we're seeing them drop. If you were making 25 an hour, they say, hey, look, we want to keep you, but we cannot keep you going here at this rate, or we're gonna fail. Can we drop you down to 23? And they're taking whole entire floors. We're like, we need to drop your rate or we're done. And so people are like, okay, it's cool. So this is happening all across the United States. So these things, so this is where I fight with this. Like, there's this side that we're seeing, right? This is the real economy. And then we're seeing the charts, the speculative side, right? Who's playing this? These two little things are very much juxtaposed to each other, but they're also related to each other, right? And so it's an interesting situation that's going on, and one is going to have to give. And when I look at it, it's very much going to be the economy, because it's the stronger force. The economy will take it. It's not the speculative side. And so this is where a part of me thinks that a lot of these charts, a lot of these commodities are being speculated on and being pushed up. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they're trying to front run the interest rate drop, but this has been going on now for a while. I mean, for 3 years ish, that we're seeing these big pushes. I mean, during the last end of Biden's administration, last 2 years, he was plagued with this, and they kept pushing out fake numbers, which I kept just bastardizing those reports, saying that these things are false and they're being BS. And later we came to find out, it was being falsified and changed out, right? So after so many revisions, it just stopped. I just gave up. So, but ultimately, let's jump back into what we're actually seeing here with Bitcoin. If this happens, this means less Bitcoin will be bought. Hence, we probably will see a sell-off, and I think a major sell-off. As the world starts to hemorrhage, I think, again, I'm not saying that we're going to have a 2008, but we're going to have maybe something similar, okay? Because we have an everything bubble right now around the world. And so I think we're going to have a big old boom, and this thing's going to get going again, just like Wolf of Wall Street. He was back on, right before he retired. He was like, you know what? Forget that. I'm going to get going. Forget those guys, right? We'll either see that the party keeps going, right? And huge stimulus. We have quantitative easing. And additionally to that, they start printing more money. It's giving people actual real hard money. So it's going to be really interesting if that happens. Again, we'll have another 10 years of just greatness, and then everything will fall. And, almost Armageddon. But apart from that, or we face the reaper and say, all right, let's do this. And
don't fear the reaper. I need more cowbell.
More cowbell.
Couldn't resist that. I just couldn't resist it.
But it's just, you see what I'm saying here. So we're going to find out what happens here. But ultimately, I think we could see a lower, like I said, I've been talking about these levels here, the 91, potentially the 87 area. I'm on a short-term pullback. We'll find out what happens. I think the world will run to a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of gold. We've already seen gold kind of consolidating yesterday. It all just kind of depends on what we're going to see internally with a lot of these other countries. But ultimately, I'm looking for us to hit these areas and then to come down lower and potentially maybe a buying opportunity. That's it in a nutshell.
Come back down into a buying opportunity. Like in the next 10 minutes, or no, I'm just kidding, because I'm in a long trade right now. I got myself into a long trade earlier, Pedro, just because just on your really favorite chart, the 1 minute chart. That's a joke, everybody. But anyway, the 1 minute BTC, and I'm in a really big trade. I've got $10 of margin at risk here.
Doesn't matter.
And came down, bounced off the 200 period moving average, and I said it's probably got a little bit of a run in it. I waited for a confirmation candle, which took me 5 minutes to wait for that, and then I got in a little trade. I got in 10 whole dollars, and I'm up 58% right now.
That's what I'm talking about, Doc. That's what I'm saying. And you're like, only $10, dude. $10 a day. $10 to $20 a day starts to add up. Give it a month or two, that thing's up to maybe, $700, $600. Give it a month or 30 days of $10, man. What is that?
Well, I started this account the other day at $500, mm-hmm. And we're at 803 plus the 10 in margin, so 813 right now. And all of except for one outlandish trade that was just because SEI was running like stupid, and I went long on it, and it just kept going. It was one of those things that just kept moving the stop up, and it pulled in $80.
Yes.
So that was, that started as a $2 trade, and I added another probably $7 to it, or $5 to it. I think I had 7 or 8 total margin in it, and it pulled in at $80 just because it just kept going up. I'm like, it's gonna retrace. I started looking at it because I'm like, I'll
keep going higher.
I'll catch the reversal, right? And so I was just waiting for it to reverse, and it never did. And I'm like, well, all right, well, and everyone's talking about it online. I'm like, this has got FOMO written all over it. And so I just took a small long and just kept moving the stop up, and then the reversal came while I was sleeping, and it wasn't even that big of a reversal. Anyway, so that's a super tangent. The point is that.
But no, you hit it, because I always talk about this. You want singles and doubles, doubles.
Just get men on base.
One of those times, you're going to get to third base or a home run. You're going to get a grand slam, man. So it will come, right? That grand slam will come, but you just want to get on base. And as Tom says, keep moving higher. Pay attention. And here's the thing: that $80 sooner or later turn to 800, because as you grow your account, you can grow your margin, right?
Yep.
And so all of a sudden, once it's 80, then it's 800, and then it's 1600, then it's 2000, 3000, 4000, and then your singles and doubles go from $10, right, to $20, to $50, to $100, to $200. And then all of a sudden it's about 1,000, and this may be in a year or two, but it's that slow growth, steady eddy, where I'm not looking to get rich tomorrow, because here's the thing, it can go away, but I want to be able to go at any period in time to the lake and pull out a fish, right? Like, oh, my family's hungry.
Time to eat.
Yeah, boom. Right? It's we're teaching you how to fish. I can give you fish. You know what I'm saying? I can say, hey guys, look, okay, we're pulling back to this area of liquidity here, right? Boom, expect it to go higher, right? Boom, you're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm jonesing off of Pedro's calls. What I want to bring to you guys is the ability to be able to go out and do this yourself and be able to help yourself out and your family. Because as the world turns chaos, you can have an additional income to bring in. And I'm not saying a ton of money, but what I am saying is the ability to be able to consistently go in and bring home money to let it build.
Right.
Most people have a
or
full-time
pay
job.
a bill.
Or pay a bill.
Man,
right?
electric's due, man. It's due in 2 weeks. I need $300 by then. Hey,
but if
you learn these skills, you can do it.
But what I'm saying is I don't want it like that. I'm saying do this every day.
No, build over long term.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Build over long term. Don't touch that. Let it build from a $500 account into a $100,000 account. Right? And all of a sudden now, you can either say, hey, I'm going to keep 20,000 in this account. It's my trading account. And the other 80,000, I'm going to put into a municipal, I wouldn't say municipal, I would say crypto, a crypto staking of a stable coin where you're making 5%, 6% off of that stable coin. Right? And remember, I gave you guys the strategy of literally, remember, buying at the lower sell-off areas and the higher sell-off areas. And now there's about to be a plethora of stable coins. I mean, we're talking.
Literally, there's going to be like the local convenience store is going to have a stable coin.
Dude, I was so, you don't even understand. I was so stoked when I found out that Amazon's doing a stable coin, that Walmart's doing a stable coin. I was like, ooh, like I'm going to sit there and just scan through, because remember, you find the range and you play the range.
Well, I got to tell you, with all those stable coins, there's no way they're all going to be managed well. And
absolutely.
And the trick is we'll be looking to find the ones that are not managed well, and you'll be able to tell because the price will vary from $1 a lot, and then you'll bang them. And then we'll take all their money, and then there'll be more regulation. Then they'll outlaw those stable coins.
But as of right now, it is not there. There's no law, and so we're gonna be able to have fun here. And this is where, it is what's up. Oh, what's up, Crypto Mike? He's over there on Rumble. What's up, brother?
Crypto Mike in the house.
What's up? What's up? Do we have the sound system?
Yeah, we got it right here. You might not hear. Welcome, Crypto Mike, to the show. Where is my... There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Crypto Mike in the house, coming to us from Manitoba. Crypto Mike is the big loser this year in the Stanley Cup. Although it wasn't his team, but it was another Canadian team. And
that's funny.
It's really interesting, Mike, is watching the Florida players run around Florida, different cities in Florida and stuff with the Stanley Cup, and all the memes are great. They're like just Florida doing the typical Florida thing, that great hockey capital of the world, Florida.
That's funny, dude.
But it's working. It's catching on down there. I mean, they've got people of Cuban descent running around loving it. And then you're like, all right, well, it's working.
That's awesome.
So welcome to the show, Crypto Mike. Hold on, Pedro, I've got to take care of something real quick with the little dog there before she craps on the floor.
All right, gotcha, no worries. All right, guys, I'm going to take over here real quick. So really interesting that what we're watching in Bitcoin here, yes, it is going up. It is fire. But one of the things I want to prepare you guys is you can see here, look at just the daily trend here, all right? You can see we had a decent amount of volume on the open. But look, we had a major sell-off here at the lows here. Look at this huge push. Look at this huge dump for the day, right? The amount of volume coming in. Look at over here. Look at the amount of volume coming in over here, right? You can see that the seller volume is coming in strong. And so these small little areas, even though we're pushing up, they're getting fixing for taking money here, okay? So just be ready for certain circumstances for a sell-off to come down so that we can take advantage of it, right? Right now it's a ask bid, right? It's, even though we're moving up, okay? So instead of bid ask, or I guess it's bid ask, but the bids are slowing down and they're equally pushing the amount of buyers and sellers coming in. And so with that said, by you guys going through and paying attention to that, you're going to be able to capitalize on the pullback here. So just be ready for it so that you guys are ready. And so you can make some money on it. So when it turns around, you can sit there and say, "Oh yeah, baby. That was nice," right? Boom, here we go. Now, the other part behind this, and I bring this up because it's pretty cool as you look at this, is you want to start, what you want to see is on the downtrend, as we're going down, we want to see the volume of the seller volume overshadow the volume as it's going, or as the buyer volume as it's going up. You can see that the seller volume is overshadowing the buyer volume here. So I can definitely see it starting to come in, and they're getting ready to drop it here. You can see here on the daily chart that they're not putting in any real demand wicks here. And so on the back end for you, you can sit there and say, all right, we've got a nice slip and slide all the way down into these lower levels, you know. And so you can see we came and tested that 200 period moving average, but it didn't do anything, right? You can see that we put in a lower low here. Look, here's your high, here's your lower low, or here's a lower low, and then the lower low coming in. Here's your, higher low. Forgive me for that, guys. We have the high, we have the lower high, we have the lower high, and then we have a low, lower low. So the next one should be somewhere to test this, because we've already tested that 200-day period moving average sitting right there, right? And it didn't really put a lot of demand wicks in. So to me, that shows lack of liquidity coming in. So they want to drop it to come down. So be prepared for that, okay? We're expecting to see that drop there. And additionally to that, I also want to add into this is really important, that you want to see where the market potentially could go. So my first target is going to be right here at this level. Let me remove this liquidity area. That next target is going to be the 106, 173. So your target, your entry is going to look something like this. Around here, you can see that we're playing. You want to put your stop around here, right? This is going to be the local high. And then you're going to try to catch this. Now, what you could do a 1-to-1, which would be like right here. You can catch this, right? Which is basically a 1-to-1. Your stop could go right here. And then once we cross this low here, you would bring your stop down to the local low, which is going to be the local high, which is going to be right here, right? And so with that trade, you sit there and say, okay, if we continue down, I expect this to go down here. And so it's a little play you can play. And then if, again, like what Tom did, he kept moving down his stop. Now we have a potential to come all the way down to that 104 area from here. So your first target is here, and then your second target could potentially be right here as you see it come down to that level. And then if we pick up steam, the next level that we could sit there and see is really right here, which is that 100 area. So just to give you guys a head up of where we're going. Not much, dude. Oh, nice. So shout out to Crypto Mike. If any of you guys are watching this, I see we have about 13 people there. Glad to have every one of you guys. If you guys could hit that like and subscribe button. I'm doing my best to give you guys real trading content here so that you guys can actually take advantage of a lot of these plays. And I'm trying to teach you what I know, right? Not necessarily in detail, because I'm trying to teach you guys how to develop your own style. But I give you some of my style so you can take little nuggets and then start to create your stuff. And I give you guys like ways to develop your own trading style, ways for you guys to actually take advantage of how to trade. One of the biggest things I always say is write down every single trade that you do in a spreadsheet or whatever you use. And then what I want you to do is go from there. And I want you to then write the reason why you got in that trade. So you're going to write where you got in, your stop, and your targets. From there, you're going to say, I'm getting in this trade, is because of this, whatever metrics you use to calculate that. Then from there, I'm having my stop down here, explain the reason why, and then my targets are here because of X, Y, Z. Understanding now that's the outline of the trade, right? You also want to write down how you executed your trade. If you don't do that, then you actually throw things off, right? Meaning you need to nail down the minute understanding of, all right, I'm getting in as it's coming down into, for me, the 8-period moving average on the crossover. Okay. And I use the 8 and 20 crossover for myself. A lot of people like to use the Fibonacci sequences. Other people like to use VWAP and all the other WAPs out there. Whatever circums that you're using, or other people use Bollinger Bands, saying, I'm going to wait for it to come down outside of the band, right? Hitting, let's say, the 200-period moving average, right? For whatever time frame you use. And then from there, that is your execution on the initiation of the trade. That small detail is important because you can be in a trade and it could be a bad trade, but if your execution is on point, you may make money. Now, ultimately, let's say in 6 months, you're like, oh, that was a dumb trade, because you've evolved. You've evolved now you've created rules that made things better, and you looking back at those trades, you're like, oh my goodness, I've grown. And so that's I always say, write down the trades, write down your trades. Tom, how many times have I told you, write down your trades?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. And I have a spreadsheet that just grows and grows and grows. Every day I do insert lines, insert lines, insert lines, insert lines. And now I'm able to sort by stuff and all that type of. It works. It works. It told me not to listen to Pedro. No, I mean, never mind.
This guy right here. Hey, come on. So shout out to, I guess, I want you guys to learn these things so that you can take advantage. Now, as we were talking about the whole entire thing of the Bitcoin dominance, I'm expecting the Bitcoin dominance still be very, on fleek here. And the reason why is because ultimately, right, I think banks and institutions will hold Bitcoin. It will be like the dollar and Bitcoin. We'll see both parity. And it will be in a sense where I was thinking about this last night. People kept asking, well, if we're buying treasuries, then isn't it just pretty much the same thing? And they're right. They're absolutely right with the current fiat system. This is where you typically will buy assets. So let's say Tether will hold assets like, i.e., let's say we see a major sell-off of NVIDIA. We see a major sell-off of Tesla. We see a major sell-off of we see major sell-off in McDonald's. This is where that extra cash will come in and buy these equities and assets that pay them a dividend, along with, let's say, treasuries. And in that same sense, you will see these stable coins as well as many of these other banks sit there and say, we've got these, we're good. And that will add more security to the actual establishment of the stable coins. And so I want to sit there and say, expect to see a big buying opportunity coming as the sell-off comes, because they need to load up on a lot more assets so they can stabilize and be able to say that we have what's the word I want to use? That we have an asset-backed stable coin. Asset-backed stablecoin.
Asset-backed stablecoin.
Thank you. It was so hard for me to sit there. I said asset-backed mortgage, but all right, that was a 2008 reference. So and we see a drop. I am literally giving alpha, and these people, it blows me away. It literally blows me. We were at, I think,
18.
almost at 18.
Almost 20, yeah.
And they just drop off. I'm literally giving you guys money, and you just walk away.
Well, it's maddening, Pedro, but it is what it is.
I don't know. I just don't get it.
Why can't I get? I'm trying to bring my comments. Oh, there it is over there.
Yeah. Part of me just wants to I'm gonna ask a question. How big is our group, our Telegram group?
About 80 people.
All right. I want you to put a question in saying, do you like it when Pedro gives real advice, or do you like him to just go moon? And whatever it is, I will stick to it. I'm not joking.
Well, I think what works better is the advice showing people in a trade. Watching other streamers, the advice goes, maybe not in a live trade, but saying here, going back to an example and saying, I did this trade here. It was based on this advice and yada yada yada, so people can visually put it together.
So here's my trade. I said, put your stop here. You want to execute and wait for, this is what I would take. I would take a short right here, right now. As it pulled back up, we saw the 8 and 20 cross. So I'm expecting this thing. You see that kink down right there? I would have sat there and said, all right, it's time to go short right here, and then go short all the way down. I would have placed my stop about right here as we came up to that 8 to see it go down. That's simple.
Now that watch the number. Whoa, look at that! The numbers just spiked. Now there's no way that's correlatable. I mean, I can see people dropping off, but not coming on like that fast. All right, let's before we get into it, let's make some YouTube comment here, or Rumble content here, Pedro.
Yes.
Well, I'll try to keep this under 5 minutes for a good video here. Everybody, the theme of the show today. Wait, am I even on the screen? I am not. Let's see. Here we go. The theme of the show today is Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance, like I said earlier, Pedro and I here on this picture with a woman holding a Bitcoin. And men look at the women holding Bitcoin and think what, Pedro? They think dominance, right? No, that's not what they mean. They think dominance. But what is Bitcoin dominance? What is it, and why is it important? I mean, how many of you watching this show or this video have been waiting for that altcoin pump? You're just sitting there going, that thing needs to pump, and it's not. Why? And the reason is because it's not ready to. It's not ready to pump, and nobody wants it to pump. That's putting their money where it counts. And so you say, well, how do I know that? I mean, how do I know that? Well, the trick is to learn about this thing called Bitcoin dominance. Let me bring up the chart here on my screen. Bitcoin dominance is this chart right here. And note that it's been going up, and if you could see the dates on it here, it's been going up since can't see it on my chart here. It's been going up since November of 22, except for some notable downfalls. It's been trending upward. This is a daily chart for Bitcoin dominance, and what it is it's the ratio of Bitcoin to everything else. You've seen Pedro bring up many times the total market cap charts here. That's almost this same number, but it's just presented a different way. This is the total market cap of $3.some trillion, and it's divided into which percentage is Bitcoin and which percent is everything else. And right now, Bitcoin is 65% according to the way TradingView calculates it. You can find it on CoinMarketCap. Here it is, CoinMarketCap, their Bitcoin dominance chart. And as you can see, it says 64%. You can't see that because I'm in the way here. It would say the chart right here says that it's 64%. I guess the numbers are over there also. And it even breaks it further out to say ETH is 8.9%. And you can go back and see the history of it. And at one point, ETH was 20%. And and others were 8%. And it's reversed itself. And this is important because it tells you if people are throwing their money into Bitcoin, they don't have any money for the altcoins. And so when you're looking at these charts, you can look at uptrends. And the charts suggest capital is flowing into Bitcoin. It flows into Bitcoin during market uncertainty or during bull runs. People FOMO and they move their money into Bitcoin. During this period when money's flowing into it, alts underperform. And that's what's been going on. Alts have been underperforming for a couple of months. And as a relation to Bitcoin, alts have not been performing well since the super pump of when was it? November of 24, November of 24. And then even last year in October, November of 23, when altcoins just mooned. And a downtrend in dominance, like here over my shoulder when it's going down, indicates capital is moving into altcoins. Often during altcoin seasons and when smaller cryptocurrencies rally, because people take profits from one area. If Bitcoin is booming and everyone's moving their money there, it generally means the price is going up. And they'll take profits and say, ooh, altcoin number 5006 is booming. I better take some money and FOMO into a buy somewhere else. And so Bitcoin dominance will go down as the ratio changes. And great examples of this, let me bring the, not that chart, this chart. Great examples of this were the 2017 bull run. Let's find it on the chart here. 2017 bull run here. 2017 is not just a bull run for Bitcoin. It was a bull run for anything that had the word crypto connected to it. People were FOMO-ing the market. It was the first time all the initial coin offerings were happening that were later ruled to be highly illegal. And you can see Bitcoin dominance on this chart just plummeting, just coming right down. And that was simply, it went from basically 100%, because there wasn't anything else. Then all of a sudden, Ethereum came about, BNB came about, Ripple came about. Ripple took a big chunk of the market then, and all the initial coin offerings, people took money out of Bitcoin, put them in there, they pumped, everyone was great, yay! And then everybody took their money out of the initial coin offerings, boo, and the market reversed itself. And it happened again in 2021. In 2021 here, you can see the Bitcoin dominance coming right down here. Just like that. It came down from 72% to 40%. You don't think that's much, but that's a lot. That's a lot of movement of money. Dominance fell from 70 to 40% by May 21 as altcoins like Ethereum and meme coins gained popularity. The money that flowed into meme coins, people took money out of Bitcoin. Imagine this, Pedro. People took money out of Bitcoin when it was priced at $8,000, $10,000, and put it in SafeMoon. Put it in SafeMoon, the first kind of reflections-based token on BNB. And while a lot of people made a ton of money on there, most people lost money because most people got in at the point where they were exit liquidity.
Yeah.
And if those people still had that Bitcoin, whoo, big difference. Big difference. So that market cycle really happened. And then, of course, in bear markets, you see people just go fly to safety of Bitcoin and the dominance. And you can see it just growing, Bitcoin dominance, as the institutions have been getting more involved. And what you're noticing also on this chart, Pedro, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the volatility is down in the Bitcoin dominance. While it's growing, but it's not giving these crazy waves that it was doing before, because there's a lot more money in the market right now, and there's a lot more institutional holders coming in and buying this stuff. People like Michael Saylor and the big banks that are now allowed to start, that started their ETFs and all that type of stuff. So that's we like in day trading, you like to see volatility, and this market is an indicator of the volatility between Bitcoin and altcoins. But pay attention to this indicator. It's really important if you're an altcoin trader. If you're just in Bitcoin, it really doesn't matter because if you're just trading Bitcoin, all you're worried about is is which way the market. You don't even really worried about the price. You just want, is it going up or going down, or is it consolidating? That's all you need to know. But if you're wanting to figure out what Ethereum and all the other altcoins are doing over time, and whether there's going to be a move to them, this is your early indicator. Once that starts moving down, you'd be like, where is that? And this represents a lot of money. I mean, 60% or whatever, it's 64% of 3 point something trillion is a lot of money. And so just 10% movement in that represents hundreds of billions of dollars moving to other cryptocurrencies. And that means they moon. So pay attention to those. And pay attention to the Bitcoin dominance. All right, Pedro. That was my speech of the day here. Hopefully that I'll break that out and make a nice little video out of it, and it'll get some views.
Nice. I while you were doing that, I've been sharing us and having fun with it. So I'm hoping that we're going to see a little pickup. Yeah,
I hope we get to read some ads here soon. I missed the first one.
Yeah, man. Oh, yes.
I don't know why. I have it in a spot on my screen where I can see when it gives me a little light saying an ad's available. I wish it would ping me in the ear. That's what you know what? I'll put in that request.
I was gonna say, yeah. I was like, it's got to be an easy thing to do, right? Boom. Fingers crossed. So that should work there as well. So we should see another one come up here real quick. So what's interesting here is that we're watching the market now starting to come down here. Like I said, we'd expect it to come down. First target, it's going to be right here at the low here. If not, I'm honestly, my first row target is going to be down here, that 106, 194 area. As we see it come down, we're already starting to see volume pick up. Buyer volume sell off. So again, this potentially could be the pullback. We always say if it goes up on Monday or Sunday and Monday, expect it to sell up on Tuesday or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and see it go down Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So this is what I'm expecting to see. That's why I'm more short than long, and just the volume doesn't help the conviction of it going up. So we'll see what happens.
For those of you just tuning in, Pedro is one of his big indicators is volume, and specifically the change in volume over the previous couple of periods, and because that signifies a lot. It signifies money actively coming into the market and eyeballs on everything. And you know, if it's a green volume, it signifies that there's hope and we might moon. If it's a red volume and then it's decreasing, that means that people are, well, if it's going either direction, if it's just changing volume,
yeah,
changing percentages, it's a big indicator of what's going on.
Pretty much. Now, one of the things I think it's important to pay attention to as well is, wow, one of these advertising is literally a full-on, I don't know if she's transgender.
Almost said the no-go word there.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean, it's literally on Rumble. One of the advertisements that just pulled up. I'm like, that just does not make sense. But yeah.
Oh, thanks, fun. Mike. Sorry, I left that on there. Oops.
Great times.
Hey, Pedro, why don't you re-go over that Bitcoin review there, where you're just saying you were looking where to go short and where the level is. Just repeat what you said, because I left the thumbnail up.
All right. So because of the daily volume, I am wanting to go short because there's a lack of volume to go up. This being it pretty clear. You can see how we've had a drop in volume, and then this downtrend we had an increase of seller volume, people wanting to short. So you can sit there and say, I want to capture, we're hitting this area of supply right here, which is basically where a bunch of sellers are sitting. And so I'm looking for a retracement back down to the lows here, at least to the 100,001, if not 100,000 area, because of the lack of volume. So with that, I'm going to try to take advantage of this daily zone to be a part of this. So this is where this is the meta level of the trade. This is my idea. So if I was writing this down, that's what I would write. Then I would go into the execution of it. So the execution of it is we've put in multiple lower highs. Here is the high, lower high, lower high, low, lower low. We bounced off of the 200 period moving average without any real volume. As you can see, this is the 200 period. You can see here hardly any volume, and there was more seller volume here versus buyer volume. Normally you want to see a hard buy volume when we hit that 200 period. So with that said, I'm apt to short now. So once I saw the crossover of the 8 and 20 coming in, I said, all right, I want to go for a pullback. So this area right here, I want to wait for it to pull back into the 8 period moving average, putting a seller wick. As it's coming down and turning green, I would go short from this moment down. My first target would most likely be the 400 period moving average, sitting at the 106. And why? Because the hold, we did not create a new higher high off the 200 period moving average. So I know that the second time we come and test that 200, we're going to most likely blow through it. So I'm expecting it to go down. So this is an opportunity for you, if you want to get in short, where you would put your short at the top of the 8. And what you would do is put your stop. Either you could do a 1-to-1 where you can put it right here up the top here, which is the high. Okay, and you would have a 1-to-1 trade, or you could put at the local high here and then capture it going down. So that would be it in a nutshell. And then from there, this is my first initial target. Then after that, if we start to see it go down, my next real target for me is going to be right here. See, this is going to act as a liquidity area. There's a lot of stops here, so it might shoot up for my short. So that would be where I would take profit a second time. It'll be right here. And then from there, you would sit there and say, okay, nice little risk to reward. We got a 7-to-1. Again, this is important. Put in $10. You do not put in everything you got. You always have money to trade, because again, this is a probability game. So you bet small. And then what happens is, like Tom experienced yesterday or today.
It was last night.
All right, so it was yesterday. He experienced it. He's been winning consistently, right? Winning consistently. That is the trader's dream. Consistent trader. Consistently winning. That's when you hear somebody say, I'm a consistent trader. What that means is I consistently win. So your job is to be a consistent trader, not to hit home runs. Your job is to get on base and make money. Singles
Moneyball.
Moneyball. There you go. Go watch that movie. You'll see what we're talking about. From here, you hit your first target, which would be around here. Be about a 4-to-1 is what we're looking. And that was the other thing that I use is I try to make 4-to-1s. 3-to-1s, 4-to-1s, 3-to-1s, 4-to-1s. And if I can get a 10-to-1, great. That's a third base. If I can get a 20-to-1, 30-to-1, right? That's basically a 30x, right? Off of that trade. That's a grand slam. Let's go every day, right? Boom. But that doesn't come every day.
No.
Okay. That may be
but everyone hopes it does. There's hope.
Yeah.
That's the hopian.
That's why we desire volatility, right? That's why traders love volatility, because you can quickly get 30-to-1, 40-to-1s, 50-to-1s real quick when things get crazy. But ultimately, this play is looking for a 4-to-1. Then we're looking for a 7 to 8-to-1. And if this thing catches steam, right, which I think it will, we can see it come down to that 101, and that's a 19-to-1, 20-to-1. And so you risk $10, $15, and then you just let it go, and you say,
welcome on board, my new crewmate Jennifer.
But it's about consistently writing down your trades, consistently chronicling everything that you do, the reason why, most importantly, for everything, getting in, stop, targets, and then the meta view, and then the micro view of your actual initiation of the execution, of your trade. If you do the correct initiation with the execution correctly, you can even have a bad trade that will win, right? Which will solve you.
Totally agree with you. And I learned that the hard way a while ago when I was, and this is 4 years ago. I copy traded this other YouTube guy who's no longer a YouTube guy. Turns out he was a scammer, but that's a different story.
That's why I started doing this. I had a friend of mine following a guy.
Right, and so I was following this guy. It's actually how the original DYOR group got together, following this guy. And he said he did one of these things. I am going to turn $1,000 into $10,000, and you guys can come along and participate in it, and we'll all have fun and make money in this type of stuff. And I said, all right. And so I started, in short order, he had his account at $5,000. And mine was at about $800. I'd lost $200. And I'm copy trading him. And I'm like, wait. I quickly realized is that small timing differences in your entry add up to a big deal, or small timing exits. It turn winning trades into losing trades into winning trades, and just outright frustration. And so, you know, unless you're algorithmic, unless a bot is copy trading someone that's successful, it's very difficult for you just to copy someone. You have to execute when they do. So, like if Pedro puts out a short video that says, "Hey, I'm getting in at $100,000 to Bitcoin. That's my trade for the day." By the time you see that, even if you see it, you know, an hour later, maybe too late. Bitcoin may have pumped by then, and the Pedro's initial into the liquidity area Pedro thought, or even just in minutes. Sometimes in minutes, like you look at the chart, you're like, "There's a reversal coming." By the time that someone that's copy trading someone, they're like, "Okay, well, I think I'll go copy trade that guy," and do it. The reversal's already happened. And that's what happened to me. I got in too late, and then I got out too late too. And so the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I sold it at 3 a.m. I'm like, "Well, I was sleeping," you know? And the guy's like, "Well, you should be awake too." And I was like,
now remember, a part of this is also, this is a probability. So it's important to understand your probabilities. Like, so as you go through and you start to write down, you sit there and you say, okay, I'm a 40% win ratio. I'm a 50% win ratio, right? Those areas, you want to get to 51%, even 50%, right? With the right risk to reward, you can become a millionaire. But the key point is this, is playing both ends, understanding both ends as they work together, is that you have a probability that you know that you're good at, and then you have the risk to reward that correlate with each other. And as they start to really get good and you start to create it, one feeds off the other and the other feeds off the other as well. So it's really important to know that my trading style, I have a probability that wins. So when I look at my probability, right? My probability lets me know how many times if I get into a trade, if it's going to work.
Right.
Then I have my risk to reward. My risk to reward is that 3-to-1, 4-to-1. I always try to get a 4-to-1 ratio on my trade so that I can do really well. Now, as you get to, let's say you have a 30% win ratio. Okay, 30% win ratio, but your risk to reward on average is a 4-to-1, which means that you make, if you put in $10, okay, you make $40 or $30.
Right.
And if you're at a 30% win ratio, right, you know that on your fourth trade, you're going to end well. Or your third trade, you know you're going to win.
Because it's the probabilities.
Yeah, and so that's why I tell you, calculate your probabilities. It's understanding your probabilities along with what you're able to risk, which allows you, and you need to, that's why you chronologize your trades.
You journal them.
You journal them. You write them down. And in doing that, this allows you to be able to really take advantage of, and just keep doing this. Like, even if you suck, if you got 20%,
Pedro, it makes such a difference. I'll give the example of it made for me. I started doing that when you told me a while ago. Then I wasn't trading much for a while at all, and I put the journal away. And then I started trading again. Wasn't journaling. Wasn't doing well at all. You know, just didn't have the mojo. Didn't have the feel for it. And then I started again. And then when I was in Florida and so forth, and I was in Colorado, I was all over the place. I had been paper journaling it, and in the book of rugs, as I call it here, my book. But I didn't bring that with me, so then that failed. And so I said, all right, I'm going to start a spreadsheet. And then I got back to doing it again. And it's just like it's the same as the periods in your life when you never kept track of your money, and you're like, oh, I'll just look at my bank balance and see what I got. And you have no idea how you're spending your money.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're broke, and you're like, wow, why am I broke? But you have 73% Netflix and Hulu things that you're paying for every month. And then you switch to using some software that tracks all of that, and you're like, oh, zoop, 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 this is wrong. And you can fix it, and all of a sudden you're not spending as much money every month. Same with trading. The trading journal, every time I'm thoroughly journaling everything, and I have the simplest of indicators, Pedro. It's the simplest one.
Keep it simple.
If I don't win the trade, the whole row on the spreadsheet is red. So if you have, all of a sudden you have like 4 reds out of 10, and you're like, wait, why do I have 4 reds out of the last 10 trades? And then you go look, and you're like, oh, one strategy isn't working, or this one time a day isn't working, or whatever. I don't have to interpret data. I don't have to do anything. All I do is look at it and go, over my last 10 trades, there's 4. I lost 4. Why? And you can look at it. You don't even have to read the numbers. You read the numbers later after the indicator shows it in your face. You are losing 4 out of 10. I don't like losing.
Well, here's the thing. Tom's got a really good high win ratio. So
I just won my other trade. I had my stop in at 107.2. After it dipped, I said the market, it wasn't due. I thought it was going to just break the 200 period moving average on the 1 minute. It didn't. So I said, I'm going to get out. So I just put in a stop, and I just put $3.50 into my account that I didn't have an hour ago.
Exactly.
It was like the goal was to make $20 on it, but
you made $3.
I added $3.
And this is the part I bring up, is don't be afraid to fail, because failure is literally one of those things. It is the quickest and most efficient teacher in the world. It really is. Right?
Yeah.
So do not look, especially in trading, because you're going to fail. You're going to lose. You're going to lose.
You're gonna hate it.
Okay.
It's like,
but here's the thing: when you lose, your prefrontal cortex enacts this thing. It's called the reticulus. I forget whatever. But what it does is, when you fail, your body doesn't like that frustration, and then what happens is it wants the dopamine hit. It's like, give me my dopamine hit, and so it figures out ways. You ask any drug dealer, ask any drug addict, or anybody who's addicted to some type of substance, if they need to get that dopamine hit, they will figure out a way to get that money, right? And it doesn't matter. They're going to figure it out. So the reason why that happens is the part of the brain that needs the dopamine hit says, all right, you can do this and this and this and this. And we all know really smart people who are addicts, right? Like really smart, because they've actually activated the part of the brain that makes them smart. It's the part that says, how do we figure out patterns? And then so that we can go through and get to the dopamine. And that's what happens when you want to trade and you want to be successful. And the best way is to write it down, so you can make it clear, so you can see it in front of your face and go, then you go back and you look at it and go, that makes sense.
Especially you younger folks out there, because you younger folks did what? You grew up staring at the device in your hand. Everything is visual for you now. You learn, well, that learning visually thing is kind of crap, but you process stuff with your eyes, and you see patterns. And I've been a tech guy my whole life, and I process things visually very well. And so just those simple indicators on my journal of it just turns red when I lose. And so if you scroll through the Excel spreadsheet, it's mostly green. And I added another green to it today. And so I've keep my winning percentage up. Even if I didn't add much money, it adds up, as Pedro says. You know, a $500 account is now at
2 weeks.
$816. And in a couple more days, hopefully it'll be at $1,000. And I will have...
Don't worry about that. This is the other part.
Hold on. I'll tell you why I'm telling people that. Is because I've been publicly saying I'm using this account to show you how you can grow your account. And generally people that watch, they just don't believe you unless you tell them and show them, especially struggling traders. And I'm not betting big money on any of this, Pedro. You know, as you hear, I'm doing small trades. I'm doing $2 trades, doing $5 trades, $10 trades, that type of stuff. And yes. when you have a $10 trade and you hit that home run, all of a sudden you put $80 in your pocket. And then someday when I have the more capital in the account and I can take larger risks, no, I will take the same risk using a larger pool of money. Then the rewards will come in larger amounts. And I can wait for that day. As long as I keep that Excel spreadsheet mostly green, I'm good. Pedro, we've got 14 people watching us now. Thanks. They're not feeding us a campaign, I think, because we missed that first one again. Come on, Rumble, send it. I want to make my 36 cents. Right. We talk big numbers on this channel, you viewers. We talk big numbers here. You go to other channels and the guy's like, I'm putting 80 grand in this trade right now, man. Look, I got 300 grand in it. Those people have the capability to do it and the risk to do that. Neither Pedro and I have that risk, that risk management thing. But we're learning, and someday, maybe a couple of months, maybe a couple of years, you know, Pedro's going to be trading from Santorini, and I'll be trading from the south of France or something like that from my yacht at Saint-Tropez. But that's not right now. Right now we're learning, and frankly, I like talking about this, Pedro, because channels that bring people through a learning experience generally do pretty well. Even on topics that other people have learned and mastered. Like one of my best examples is this guy, Garrett his name his YouTube name is Cletus McFarland, Garrett Mitchell. He got into the car video business and fixing up cars and running burnout tests and all that kind of all stuff people have been doing for years. Yeah. But he brought his YouTube channel along as he learned about it and made mistakes. People have been making those mistakes in cars for years. Oh, I didn't put the turbo on right, blew the engine. And all of a sudden he's got 5 million viewers, you know, on every video. He just bought a helicopter. He's bought his own airport. You know, he bought his own racetrack and this type of stuff. And he made lots of mistakes along the way, but his YouTube community was just watched him learn. And that's what I hope you guys do with Pedro. You get good advice from Pedro, which I mostly take. It's because well, to be honest, everyone's different. So we can't do something exactly like someone else. Everyone's unique. You make slightly different, even with the same rules, you make slightly different decisions. And come along this ride with us. We would really appreciate it if you do, because like I said, this is a learning experience, and many of you are here because you want to learn about crypto and the great financial markets and how they work and all that. I personally have been in the financial markets at different points in my life early on. Then I was in business for a while, which is one really big financial market in itself, the manufacturing business. And then because of the cerveza sickness that came around from the other side of the world, that manufacturing business came to a halt. And I got into digital assets and crypto, and spent many years not learning properly. Same thing many of you guys did out there. Didn't learn properly. Watched lots of dumb YouTube videos that said, just put your money here, it'll be great. Just stack up altcoins. Well, a lot of people watched that video, stack your money in all these altcoins 8 months ago, and now they're down 90%. And so you got to learn to make your money yourself here. You can't rely on other people. And so we're not saying just do what Pedro says. Pedro teaches a way for you to learn. And the great example is don't give a man to fish for dinner, because then he just eats that day. Teach a man to fish. Then he eats for life, right? Crypto Mike, yes. The gospel. So true, Tom. We got some good feedback now from the set. The Gospel of Pedro, the Pedro Chronicles. The Chronicles of Pedro. We like it. I think AI is going to come up with a good story for that. Where's Chuck Jensen when you need him for that?
Yeah, he's so good on that stuff, man. Like,
I know.
Legit.
But to kind of, tell everyone here on Rumble why we're here. First of all, we do have a couple of people watching on YouTube. Thank you very much. YouTube's not been good to us lately. It's their method of matching people with videos has gone awry, as far as I can tell, in the crypto industry. And Rumble's been very good to us, and we do talk politics now and then, especially with the change of administration and from our point of view, the really good things going on with this current administration with the digital assets industry. Pedro and I are going to sit up here and talk about changes to Medicaid and stuff. That would be doom and gloom, but we'll talk about how the great changes came that allowed us to start doing this, allowed the great people of the United States to actually legally invest in crypto, have exchanges come on and be legal, not have people like Elizabeth Warren conduct lawfare on it. What was the term they used? Operation, whatever it was Caitlin Long's term. You're on mute.
Beat down crypto.
Operation Beat Down Crypto. Not have just imagine being Elizabeth Warren now. Just 1 year ago, she was like, the SEC was hammering everybody. Everything was, she was getting more rules on everything. She was at her top in really giving the business to crypto. And then one good year later, and everything she worked for is gone. You're out. Next. And not only that, it wasn't one of these things where there's nobody on the other side except Elizabeth Warren that can say this is a bad thing. Because the government didn't just say, and the Trump administration didn't just say, all right, just do whatever you want, I don't care, and then it was fraud and scams and all that kind of stuff. They actually stepped up enforcement on frauds, let the FBI just do what they normally do with frauds, just add crypto to the mix. But they've put in crypto-friendly, I shouldn't say crypto-friendly, crypto digital asset practical people in charge, saying, all right, we need a way to allow this to happen and manage it well. And so all these new bills came out, new regulations to stuff to make it happen properly. It doesn't hurt us, Pedro, that the president of the United States' second largest source of income currently is from the crypto industry.
Is it
You
really?
can believe that. Yeah, I just read that article. He made because he got a big payout from World Liberty Financial of $60 million, and it's his second largest source of income after his ownership of the Trump organization. I can imagine
hilarious. That. Well, here's the thing. I mean, I've talked about this, that the Sam SBF literally set things up in a way where he was funneling money to both sides. The amount of money that was coming in was ridiculous, and he was able to actually fund on both sides to help crypto. And yet both sides during the Biden administration was literally lambasting and literally suppressing the ability for people to actually use it. If he would have just simply said, you know what, let's check this out, they probably would have won. They probably would have won, because they would have received the crypto vote. That crypto vote was 1%, 1 to 2% in every single state. And that's what won Trump's election. And the fact that they were so obstinate to it, it was funny. I was actually watching AOC talk to somebody saying, why is it that you do this and this? And somebody I just kept seeing it. This was on a YouTube thing. Like, can you tell me? And all I saw was crypto. And I sat there and I was like, oh my goodness, she never addressed it. And I sat there and I was like, you're asking for people to talk to you, and yet you will not acknowledge what they're actually saying. This is the exact reason why the left is not winning.
Yep.
It's just absolutely. And it's funny is like their biggest donors, Elon Musk. Now I'm forgetting all of them, but the vast majority of Silicon Valley were left. Now they're central.
Right. They changed their mind. Once they see they have influence on tax policy, they're like, oh, wow. Remember all those progressive liberal stuff that we used to talk about? Let's ixnay on that. Can we delete all that? The Wayback Machine?
They could have helped themselves, but they were so obstinate. They were so stuck in their ways to not hear the large populace view of the way they wanted to see. They would have won, but they just didn't. Anyways, now we digress. But
Pedro, I brought my thing back up. I'm gonna finish off talking about the trade I had on earlier. For the viewers.
Okay. Can we bring in also what Powell was talking about, and then we can go over some stuff?
Yeah, I'm gonna take 2 minutes to talk about this, just because it's doing what I thought it was gonna do. Ladies and gentlemen, earlier I put this trade on here. Bitcoin came down to this bottom. I can't point all the way over there, but the bottom of that V there. And yes, I did get rid of red candles on my chart and put them with white, because then red is a negative indicator for me. And so I don't like red on my chart that I stare at all day. Anyway, and so I put this trade on, and my estimate was a 3-to-1 trade for it, and because it came down on a different time frame and bounced off of the 200 period moving average. This is the 1 minute time frame. Bounced off the 5 minute, I think. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, and it started going up, and then it started waffling. You know what? Actually, I don't have this right here. I put this trade on. I put it on here. On this reversal here. No, I'm not exactly sure where I put it on. What time did we start? I put it on before we started. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, now I remember. It was a 4-to-1 trade because I had it up here. And while Pedro and I were talking earlier, I said to Pedro, I said, hey, I have a trade on here. And we came down here, it reversed, and then coming back up. And while Pedro and I were talking, I said, yeah, I'm making about $6 or $7. Then as we were talking more, it came down here. And because I'm on the show, I didn't pay attention to it. I should have taken profits when I got close to the top of my long trade there. And so it came down here, started waffling. I was like, I'm just going to close it out. I don't know where it's going. And I'm distracted with the show. So I took my $3.50 profit. But it did do what I thought it was going to do. Come back up to the one minute moving average, break free. And then this crossover here. Pedro, if you can't see it on my chart because it's a small thing, it's Pedro's indicator, the 8 period has crossed up through the 200 period moving average. And then the one I like to use also as confirmation is the 21 period moving average. Does that come up and touch price action? If it does, that usually signifies it's going to boom. Not forever, but for at least the next 10, 20, 30 minutes or so. That was a Crypto Lifer special for me. And that is what he calls it. That's his model, which he relies on a lot. And it does work a lot. It does work. If you're trading in the discount, it works a lot of the times. If you're trading in the premium market, not as much. But that's really the case with everything, though. Anyway, that's what I just wanted to talk about, because I like teaching people about how I'm applying your knowledge that you've taught me, Pedro, into what my trade was. And sometimes it goes right, or it goes for a win. Sometimes it goes for a loss, but not as many times for a loss now.
Nice.
All right, Pedro, you had sent me a note about interest rates.
Yes, and why, and for whatever reason, I don't know why it's been having issues. Every time I go on the bar chart, why we're actually live, this does not work. But when I get off, maybe they have a system, whereas if I'm using this in can they detect when I'm recording? Is there a
invalid symbol? You just type something wrong?
No, it's not. I'm literally clicking on the actual symbol. Like, here's the symbol, here's corn, cash.
Well, obviously, go try a different one. Go try cattle or something else.
Yeah, it's all happening that way. I guess I'm gonna have to
move it to a screen that's not being screen captured and see if you still have the same problem.
No, but it's I've tried it. I've tried.
Log out, log back in.
I've tried that. Why? What's going on? Why?
Anyway, thank you to everyone while Pedro's figuring this out. Give us a like. Give us a like. Give us a comment. Mike, Crypto Mike says, I'd take your president over our prime minister. I got to tell you, Prime Minister Carney, in the eyes of the progressives and liberals, are kicking butt. Is kicking butt. He got the king to come visit. He had the G7 conference and 15 world leaders there. It was a big media coup. And it was a big trick, though, because behind the scenes, he buried a lousy budget and spending plan, promised billions more in spending, and promised there'd be a tax cut also, but no plan of how to raise the money to pay for it. So he's just going to be increasing the debt, as he did as the economic advisor for Justin Trudeau. Showmanship, he's getting an A+. Finance, he's getting a D- right now. I got to tell you, it was cool having the king, though, and seeing the king. I was like, hey, I'm an American. We got done with the king a while ago, you know? Still, you know, he's one of those important people in the world that you just don't get to see much. So, and I did see his mom. I saw the queen in her little carriage for her jubilee or whatever it was in 2012 or 11, whenever that was. $4 billion to Ukraine. Well, this might be a good thing, though, Mike. They're sending him older weapon systems that you guys need to retire. As you probably know, weapon systems become outdated, and old missiles got to be sent back because the fuel is spent or just expires. And so they want them to go get used, and they'll put in orders for new weapon systems. Most of the time, those, like the U.S. spends billions of dollars a year destroying unused weapons just because their fuel isn't any good anymore. As you know, rocket fuel is bad shit. It's bad shit. So not all of those things are so bad, and most of those will be replaced by joint ventures. As most of Canada's economy is a joint venture with a company in the U.S. Like Lockheed Martin Canada is just Lockheed Martin U.S. But the Canadian version, but they employ people, and the contracts will come through there, and the employment will benefit from that. I don't mind if it's manufactured stuff. If they send just cash over in pallets of cash for everyone to get rich and bribe and steal, I have problems with that. But if it's stuff that needs to be manufactured, that means more manufacturing is going to happen. That money's going to get spent anyway. Anyway, Pedro, I don't know if you got your thing settled there.
Yeah, you really can't. That's the problem. Every time come on. I figured out a way to do it. Yeah. These are the small details that are important to pay attention to. And indicators.
Is this what Jerome Powell is paying attention to right now?
Yes. Yeah, these are all the things that Jerome Powell's paying attention to, what he's looking at, engaging where we could potentially see the markets. And so the markets, a lot of these markets are starting to peak up and move up. And so by looking at it, we're watching, he wants to understand the nuances of this market. And again, I don't know, because watching what we're seeing is potentially, these are, so these, like the things that feed them, the animals, like the things that we all use, we get.
It's the basis of our food supply chain.
There you go. Thank you. This is why I have Tom, because words elude me at times, and he is the man who helps me out there very well. Not you, but this is why we're a good team. He helps me not to look as stupid. Well, I'm not stupid, but you all know what I mean. Moving averages. I think I'm gonna have to go through. I think I'm gonna have to pay for this. They might, and I get it. It's costing them money. I gotta call John. John Rowland is the one who owns Bar Charts. Great guy. First time long story short, I was starting to understand trading. He took me out, and he's the guy who was like the 4th or 5th generation crude oil trader. And I remember we went to this place in Seattle. It was like this, like small. I never even heard of it. Craig Goodmanson, who owned, if anybody paid attention to, what is it? It was a special type of trading school, which sucked. You spent literally almost $100,000, and they really didn't teach you how to trade. Yet online
what
trading.
What a nice scam.
Oh, bro, they actually were in a lawsuit, all this stuff. Anyways, the short of it is that they actually got in trouble. And anyways, John Rowland was a teacher there, but he was actually a good trader. He was one of the guys that they hired, and they paid him a lot of money to have him on staff. So much money, because he was, he had to leave the crude oil business, and he had done it for years, just amazing at it. And then he had enough money, but income coming in wasn't coming in anymore from trading, because they closed down the pits. And so he went through and he said, you know what, we should be smart and handle and maybe just create a business versus just trading. And that's what he did. He created this. And so anyways, long story short, you can see, I'm going to bring this up here because this is what we're looking at here. So this is oats. Majority of oats are actually fed to cattle and many other animals that correlate that we eat. Okay. And so you can see here, we've been consolidating for a while, and you can see here that we've had this peak, we've consolidated. And what happens when we see something like this? Peak, consolidate, what do we typically see? Increase. Now, as you can see, the volume is starting to increase here. You can see that coming in. And so less sellers, more buyers. So this is what he's saying, that we expect this thing to go higher because of this situation. And it's already starting to peak up. We saw the peak happen here. When was this? This is monthly. Yeah, this is monthly. So you can see here, we've had consistent months of volume picking in on buyer months. So again, we're seeing a sell-off here, but I'm expecting this to go higher here, right? And they know that this is something that's going to happen. So when we look at the actual commodities of, give me 1 second now. We're going to go to night energy. We can go over, I went over corn. I guess we could do corn here real quick, and then we'll move forward. This is a similar. No. Thank you.
Pedro, I'm going to interrupt you for just about 2 minutes here.
Please do.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to take the opportunity to talk about the people that support our little network here periodically, and sometimes you only get a few minutes to do that, and I have to interrupt Pedro. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, have you still not tried 1775 coffee yet? Well, now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped only 1,000 units. Only 1,000, it's just like Bitcoin, it's scarce. These starter kits for 1775 coffee. You're getting the bold, dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. No. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus you're also getting a gold spoon clip. Why? Because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. That's right, no microplastics in your coffee. You'll get a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political views. You also get a black 1775 tumbler that says, "I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch." I'm getting to enjoy that line. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Let me give you a spoiler here. It is. It's worth it. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like your Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Please use this URL, QR code thing right here. click the link. It helps us out if you just click it and show the people that our viewers are not bots, or that our viewers are interactive, and perhaps you might even buy one. Please click it for us. Go to their website. It helps everything out, and especially if you go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. All right, Pedro, sorry for the interruption, but had to make a little money there, and 1775 Coffee has been very good to the network here.
Yes. So going through, looking at a lot of these commodity feeders, you can sit there and gauge which direction. So here's corn. We're actually seeing a pullback this month here, but ultimately I think they expect it to go up, because you can see on the green days, you see a higher volume coming in. And so I think they're expecting it to push up. Now let's look at energy, metals, livestock, live cattle. You can see here on live cattle.
For those of you viewers, I have on the screen on my graphics machine box here, it says inflation indicators. It's just not enough room to put what Pedro's talking about here. He's going over the costs of essentially the carnivorous part of our food chain. And how that is going to affect inflation over time. So inflation indicators, there's a million of them. What Pedro's focusing on right now is now he's focusing on live cattle.
Well, these are the things, again, that you take part in, right? So we can go over metal. We're going to go over the metals here, and steel, aluminum. And you can sit there and see that the things this is where I was talking about. There's a nefarious situation going on where the things that feed us, okay, and the things that feed the things that feed us, there's a divergence going on. And so people are buying up these, or I think it's countries that are buying up the actual chart or the price themselves. That there's the chart. So what happens if you go to the gas tank, you notice that the gas is high. Well, where do they get that price from? They get it on crude oil,
right?
Spot market. And that spot market or on the futures market. And that futures market indicates what your gas price is going to be. So you can pay attention to the same situation here within live cattle. Now, you can also see how much it costs to feed that live cattle. Hay, a lot of the hay, not so much. And I mean, you can go out and buy hay. Obviously, a lot of cattle ranchers have a huge amount of land that they go through and they graze. But you can also pay attention to that. And so one of the things you can sit there, like as I showed, we're consolidating. And this is why I'm trying to gauge really what Powell is thinking, what he's looking at. Now, I know they typically look at the 2-year or the 2-year and the 10-year, right? When it comes to bonds and yields. So I understand that relationship there, but it doesn't make sense when you look at the 2 to 10-year yield and bond situation to sit there and say that he expects inflation. So when I'm looking at, I got to sit there and say, what else is he really looking at? Or the council, the group of guys looking at. And so this is the only thing I can think that they're looking at is literally these situations. This chart right here. So this is live cattle here. This is what you typically, for them to kill it after everything. This is the bare cost, boom. So then to bring that food into the market, this is it right here. And so you can see how we're seeing the price go up, yet the cost. Now, if you look at a lot of grass, or you look at oats or corn, which basically feeds our food source, if we were to cut this off right here, can I do that? Nope. Let's see if I can do that. It basically looks like this. It looks like this, where you saw the drop off and the consolidation. And so this is why I'm assuming, and this is what you're starting to see with a lot of them, of it's starting to pick up. And yet, so again, I don't want to have to keep going back to each chart, but if you go through and you look at oats, corn, or just look at the things that we feed our actual food source, they look like this. And so you're starting to see it pick up this, yet the majority of our like chickens and things like that, it looks like this. You're seeing it pick up. So with that said, if the food source is steady and it's starting to go up, if the food source, I always forget it's opposite me. The food source is steady for the things that feed us and it's starting to go up, and then the thing that feeds us is starting to go up, or it's already going up, you would expect more inflation to kick in. So this is what I'm thinking that they're really looking at. So there's live cattle. We can go over a bunch of other stuff here.
Well, hold on, Pedro. I want to point something out on your chart here. This chart's over many years, but if you look at, anyway, let me move us back in the right spot here. If you can move that over just a bit, Pedro, like, because it's behind you and I.
Right there.
This point here above my finger here, that's since the tariff talk has come on, and I shouldn't say the tariff talk because we're talking about inflation, but you can see how it hasn't risen that much, or like that, in the past that quickly, except for in 2015, real quick there, and then back in 2004.
No, I disagree. Look in 2022. Look at this huge back.
I see that's growing there, Pedro. But I mean, in the past 2 months, there's been a spike, like a pop off, like boop, like it went logarithmic there, like right there, right up there and up a little higher, like there you go. It's going nuts. And is that because, as you say, these people that you are talking about, or countries or organizations, are buying this market up?
I think so. I
mean, somebody's putting money into it if the price is going up that much. I mean, the farmers, the people that grow the stuff, or the cattle, or the oats and all that, should be happy with the price going up, but because they needed that to pay off their debts and stuff. But still, that hurts the whole supply chain when it's moving up, faster than, moving up at all.
Right.
Because America is very famous for its labor force and its research and everything is famous for, and especially the agriculture industry, getting more out of what they put into it. Yields have grown by 200% in 50 years. They get 200% more corn out of half the amount they put into it now. It's just the most amazing. That was a terrible way of saying it. But they get a lot more out of it. And all of these industries, they do. So if there is big inflation at the basic level, that means that even more basics are going up. Like I'm guessing you're going to talk about gasoline, and farmers need gasoline and diesel. Mike in Canada is suffering from the government is taxing all levels of food production. They add a tax at every level of food production. Can you believe that? They tax the entire thing. They tax. If you're the guy that grows the seeds, they're now adding a carbon tax on top to everything you do, on top of your diesel oil purchases, on top of what you emit, all this type of stuff. And then you sell the seeds to the farmer guy, or to the distributor. Distributor gets taxed on that too. Now the distributor sells it to the farmer. And you don't get the credits for it. It's not like manufacturing sales tax, and you get input credits and you get exemptions. And then they pay, and they use diesel fuel, and they pay the tax, and they pay the tax, and they pay the tax, and they pay. By the time a 4% tax gets up to your mouth, it's like 100% tax. It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you, Pedro, on that. I know you get a lot to talk about.
I think you nailed a good. The government stepping in over in Canada. Wow, that's trash. That's wrong. Now let's look at
carbon tax.
Carbon, yeah. You can see metals. We can go over palladium, aluminum. But I really want to stick primarily to this right here. So let's check out the feeder cat. And you guys, I want you guys to do this yourself, right? Like I'm showing you guys how to do it, but you can plan accordingly to this, right? Here's the full chart. And you're gonna see a similar situation here, that it actually even spiking even more. You can see this is this feed. This is the raw form, or the other one is the raw form. This is the actual processed form. You can see the price here, right? It's gone up. Now, granted, I think this is like 1,000 pounds or something like that, or I forget. I don't know if it's 50 pounds or 100 pounds for the price of it. I think it's 100 pounds per price. Let me jump here real quick.
Yeah, Mike, you are right with that. Your government sucks balls. And I can see out my window. I can see the peace tower.
Live cattle.
That's how close
you
I am.
can see here the Ussel. Where is chicken? They used to have. Is chicken still here? Poultry, pork, lean hog. I thought they had poultry. Let me see if I can pull poultry.
Eat more
Anyways,
chicken.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let's see if I can pull poultry on here. Boom. All right, so that's why I talked about we had this right here for this play. So the long-term play here would have been right here, or I said you could have moved your stop to right here. They look like they just pulled the liquidity here. It's dirty. Look at that. They stopped all those guys out.
Which chart do you have on now?
On the BTC chart. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't know you went back to that. I thought you were
I pulled. No. I was. We're about to go for poultry, but I pulled back to it. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, on the 1 minute chart, it rejected the 200 period moving average, rejected price, and it was a little bit in the premium above the local equilibrium, as they call it, and there's no support for it. And like Pedro said, it's going to come down to this area, and it started to do that. You're not spelling poultry right. It's P-O-U.
Ah, bro.
I'll edit that out.
No, man, let people. I want people.
I'm
to see
joking. I'm not editing that gem out.
Yeah, man. Like, you don't need to be brilliant.
P-O-U.
You just gotta be. Let me say P-O-U-U-T.
Not poetry. There you go.
There we go. Poultry. Cardio poultry. No. Where are you at? Where's... Come on, Sammy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got 8 minutes until they're going to serve us a new ad to read, and I look forward to them. So, might have a little filler while Pedro learns how to spell chicken.
I am cool with that. I don't mind me looking like an idiot. Look, this is the honest.
Everybody, it's a learning experience. How do you find chicken on the charts? Well, you poultry and poetry.
Poultry and.
I'm guessing. Do you have all selected?
Yeah, I do. Let's see if futures will give it to me. There we go. See me. Area futures. Boom.
Housing index. Metro area housing index. You can trade that.
Yeah. Doug, they have water futures, local area water futures, bro. Like, so let's say you want to trade, you want to short, or you want to go long California water futures.
Epic.
Right? And
we're dedicating a whole show to water futures.
I mean, like, that's gonna, honestly, in about 15 to 20 years, that's really where the real fight's gonna be, is water.
No, because some 4-year-old is gonna figure out how to filter salt water for 1 cent for a quadrillion gallons, and then we won't have that problem.
Fingers crossed.
Trust me, that's gonna happen. They'll say, all I need to do is hook this AA battery up to this AAA Osmosis doohickey screen, and you can put 20 million gallons a second through it. And, well, problem solved. Just irrigated the whole Sahara Desert.
I was looking at it the other day, and I don't know what I did with it. I don't know if it was a different website. Let me see if I can go back in my head.
Everyone watching on Rumble, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, you guys rock the mic.
Please come back another day.
Please come back, man. Hope you guys are enjoying what you're seeing. But these are the little things that you can go through. Again, this is barcharts.com, and go through, mess around with this area. Let's check out milk, or what else do you think we'd want to see? We'll check out pork here. I'll pull up.
Do you want my honest opinion? People want to know what's up with the orange juice market, Pedro, because that's what they talked about in the movie Trading Places.
Of course, we'll go with the orange juice. I actually didn't even look at orange juice, but it's a big deal. Well, not anymore.
I actually used to work in the orange juice pit. I used to work for a a trader. His name was Basil. And Basil was one of the guys that had one of those calculators that I programmed for the company I was working for.
This man was making people millionaires.
He was killing. He's like, Tom, I am just killing these guys, and I was making like $21,000 a year at the time, and not receiving any part of that. I helped these guys just kill. He was also his brain was working at 10x of everyone else's too. But when he got one of these calculators that I made so he could arbitrage the trade and figure stuff out quickly. This people is before computers and phones and all that type of stuff. They went from carrying around paper charts to, and the Orange Juice Market was great. It was only open for like 2.5 hours. It only had like 5 or 6 guys that stood there the whole time, and then other people would come and go. So it was like a little family. Tell me that's the orange. Oh, that's pork. Even pork's going up. Look at this. Mooning.
This is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, got a double top coming.
Yeah, so you typically could have this area right here as a resistance level. But again, this is what he's talking about, is we're watching inflation creep up. It's moving. And so when we're watching the very things that feed us go up, it trickles down. You have a trickle down effect, and it bleeds into everything else. You can see here again that we're watching poultry now push up, right? Or not poultry, pork. Now let's check out the metals. Let's check out aluminum, the things that actually make the car, right? The majority of your car is aluminum. And what's interesting with aluminum, as I pull it up here, is that it's not one of those things. It's in everything. Aluminum is in everything. People don't even realize it's in your deodorant. It's
in your phone.
It's in your phone. It's
aluminum.
All over the place. And it's starting to peak. It's starting to get going again. Look, we had a consolidation, but now it's picking up. We're seeing demand wicks. You have supply wicks, but this area and this area have been traded through. So the next level going up, look at the volume. The volume is picking up over the last couple months. The next level is up here. Right, it's a 3,800 for, I forget what the metric tons of that you have to order, but you can see here.
Metric tons. I'll just take delivery of that. There's my little individual retail trader.
If you're a car dealership, that's what you do, right? Or not car dealership, that
car manufacturer.
Yeah.
Where's your train delivery yard? I'm just an individual trader. I don't have a train. Oh, we've got 10 train cars, aluminum for you. Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can see here, you can see a similar pattern that we saw. Boom, pick up. Volume pick up at these lower levels. This was previous times. Now, and then with that, you can see here off of this line, you saw it go up, right? This was the pickup. It's a similar situation. And again, I think this is speculators around the world really pushing the price. Yes, it hurts them, but they know that the American people get pissed off enough because of inflation. Trump is out, and then the rest of the world gets a sigh of relief, right? And then anybody within his administration are going to have a hard time being reelected. So this is the thing that we're sitting there looking at. So this is why I think Powell has been really kind of chilling out on lowering rates. There's a lot of working parts here, not just interest rates and bonds in the stock market. You got to also understand the things that feed that, right? We're the ones trading that, but what feeds us? And those are the things that affect everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, unless you're like uber rich, right? If you're making over $200,000 a month, $200,000 a year, and your lifestyle is at 100,000, 150,000, you're doing okay for yourself, right? So,
well, for our Rumble viewers here, the president has been very critical of Jerome Powell over and the Fed. Remember, Jerome Powell is one in a committee that sets interest rates. He doesn't do it himself, and for rates not coming down. And what Pedro's going over here is why. I mean, the Fed sees the same information. It's not like Pedro just discovered this. He's looking at the same charts there thousands of economists and PhD people do, and they say, oh, prices are going up. And then he added the little nugget that the tariffs will cause more of these prices in the supply chain to go up, especially if Canada can't sell aluminum into the U.S. The U.S. doesn't have apparently the U.S. doesn't have the aluminum capacity, Pedro, to fill the need immediately. And so Canada will still keep selling in, but the prices will go up because of the tariff unless they come to some agreement over it. And Jerome Powell came out and said that. He said, look, once, all this talk of tariffs are coming in, he said, to be honest, they're not having a big effect right now. He said, but instead of just instantly lowering rates, he said, let's take some time and let this play out and see how it works. He said, we're not seeing a big decrease in the labor force. He said it has some worrisome effects. He said, but people aren't being laid off faster than we thought. So that's still strong, or at least strong enough for what they're doing. And he said, and then we got to see if these tariffs do increase prices of things, because it's inflationary. And add that to what Pedro's talking about here of just the basics like pork and cattle. I mean, 3/4 of the country consumes that every day. And the things that go into feeding those, corn and oats and all that type of stuff, if it's building from the base level, taxing gasoline, taxing the machines that process all that stuff, via aluminum and steel, all of that builds up, Pedro, and we know that causes more inflation. In the price, little things in the supply chain. I mean, I saw that when I used to run businesses and do the accounting. Little things, little things. A great example is General Motors. They pay $11 to stamp one car door. Costs $11. Actually, it costs less. That's the internal cost to transfer it out of the plant. And by the time the dealer gets it, it's $448 to fix your car with. And so, the food industry is the same thing. They add 10 cents to something, you're like, oh, it's just 10 cents, big deal. By the time it gets to your mouth, that 10 cents is, $5. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so all of this, and so when you think of the Fed is crunching all this information too. And so beating up Jerome Powell Mr. President likes to do that. I mean, Jerome Powell is the head of something that's doing something that he wants something else to happen, wants the opposite to happen.
Yeah.
And so Jerome was like, it's summer. Let's just sit on this for a while and see if we're correct or if we're not. He said if we're correct and inflation creeps up, then holding rates at bay was a good thing. He says if we're incorrect and we need to lower it. He said we can lower them at any time. We can lower them. We could have an emergency meeting and say, all right, let's drop 50 basis points off right now. Boom, done.
Yeah, absolutely. And so these small little details, that's why I wanted to go over this today. Yesterday we did Technical Tuesday and went over a lot of charts overall. And so this actually fits with Technical Tuesday. So I wanted, if we could take everything I did and then almost bring this with that. And so you can see with crude oil going up and then selling off, this might have an inverse effect, whereas we're watching crude oil drop, it could cause everything else to drop as well. So finger crossed, right? Fingers crossed here. But we saw that when crude oil dropped yesterday, right? Because Trump said, yo, knock this crap off, dude. What are you guys doing? You're hurting the American people. Stop playing around here.
That's when you know you have a president that's effective. He can just say, price of crude oil needs to go down. Boom, it goes down.
Yeah. Like it was actually kind of dope. Like I was like,
I can only imagine if the Trump family is trading the futures markets, how much money they're making.
I pray to God that they're not.
I know, but dude, all it takes is, hey, Dad, what's happening today? I'm gonna go. I gotta go talk about oil policy. Oil's too expensive. Okay, that's all he needs to say. And you can, if you're a CME trader, knowing that in advance, it would give you massive profits, like Pedro is showing right here.
Yeah, so you can see here, it literally dropped almost 20 points here. I mean, at the low here, it was 93, and you have 78. Was that? I guess 15 points. So 15 points it dropped from the high to the low here. That's a huge push. I mean, in 2 days you saw it just drop like that. And we're talking, I mean, there. If you were short on this whole entire, somebody made a lot of money off on one contract. So on the back end, as I'm looking at these levels, I can sit there and say, boom, it's dropping, and it's looking like it's going to continue. They had a reprieve, and you can see the amount of buyers stepping in, which is nil. So you can see as we start to come down on crude oil, it could actually help a lot with a lot of things that we're looking at, but it has to stay low. I expect it to get back down to that 55, 45 area. We'll see if it does, but I do expect it to get down there because that's that sweet point where it puts the hurt on the rest of the world. Yet our people can, or our refiners or our oil producers struggle, but they can make a little bit of money. So this was one of those things I think is interesting, really, really interesting.
And those wizards in California just closed down another oil refinery.
Oh, why, dude?
The California Air Board, the CARB, passed more regulations about refineries, and the refineries came back and said, I think it was Chevron, said, we can't do that to this refinery, we'll close it. And they're like, you guys are making money, and you're making so much money, it's you guys are just rich, these huge rich CEOs and rich people, and you're just polluting the air, and you got to do all this stuff. And they're like, we can do that stuff, but it's going to take a long time, and we can't do it right away because we have to shut the whole plant down, and then we won't have any gasoline for your special summer blend. And they're like, you have to do it now. They passed a rule. And Chevron, it was either Chevron or BP, I don't remember which one. They shut the refinery down. They said that it was the second one that shut because of these increasing regulations. And I agree, making sure the air is good is obviously a good thing. But there's plenty of there's lots of catch-22s. There's all kinds of stuff that people are unknowledgeable about the markets in general when they pass rules and regulations do. And now California is really screwed because they have to have this special summer blend, and they're looking at probably by the end of the summer they could be doing like British Columbia stuff, like paying $8 a gallon and stuff like that.
Oh my dude! And then how many of the people who are poor that are struggling now?
Well,
to get to work?
Yeah.
Just to get to work.
Yeah, and California is not a place of public transit. I mean, it's a place of drive your car.
Yes.
Drive your car to work. Some
places are, but I mean, California is wide. If you live in California, you got to drive. I mean, it's really one of these. I actually, when I was a kid, I used to ride bikes, but I was also shredded, bro, like yoked up. Like I'm trying to get like there I'm trying to get there by end of summer, bro. I'll be like, what's up, Tom? Show me them guns. Anyways,
Pedro and I will have a fitness show instead. I've newly taken on getting in shape again. Although, you know what's funny, Pedro, and I noticed the successful YouTubers over time, you look at their beginning videos and they all of them have the same physique, the sitting in the mom's basement at their computer for hours a day physique. Yeah. But then the ones that made money and were successful, they all ended up like Joe Rogan, big shoulders and and in shape and all that type of stuff. And obviously that doesn't happen accidentally. It happens with the mindset, and they got in the right mindset for success. And that mindset is also taking care of yourself.
You need more energy, right? Like ultimately, as you become more successful, you're thinking a lot more, you're moving a lot more, and the more success you create, your testosterone as a man and female.
You sat on your mute
make
button.
More muscle. What?
I think you sat on it twice. You went in and out.
So as you become more successful, your testosterone goes up, and not just a little, but quite a bit. And so if you start to take on working out, I mean, look at Zuckerberg, dude. That dude within a year, dog. You look at him, you're like, I just ripped dog. He got some. Have you seen him, bro? He's got guns. Like, look at Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos was like, "Hey guys, how are you?" He had that crazy laugh. Right now he's like, ha ha ha. What?
Did you see what Musk said about him?
What?
Elon has had hair work done here over the years because when he was younger, his hair started receding, and he's been using and he admits this. Elon has admitted this.
Yeah.
Someone gave him grief and trolled him like, oh, you're just spoiled, and you've got fake hair. And he said, no, I've been using the pill that helps you grow the hair for years. And he said, and so someone said, that's what happens when you get rich? He said, oh, you get more hair. And Elon posted his own picture before and after. He said in a lot of successful people, and he posted a bunch. He said other people, he said like Jeff Bezos, didn't concentrate on the hair, concentrated on the bod, and now Bezos has a buff body instead.
Yeah, he's yoked up, dog.
I like when he trolled himself.
Dude, Rogan's Dude, here's the thing though: is you need more energy. The more successful you get, you need more energy. It's not even about like getting yoked up. It's about I need more energy. And so you need efficiency within your mitochondria to take all that food and create, it was an ADP, and ADP turns into energy, right? And so
adenosine triphosphate.
There you go. And so that's why it's important to, and ultimately then you become more productive and you're able to do more, and then again more success, and then it's a beautiful cycle, right? Like do you know my height? Dude, you know how much I weighed at my highest? I was 278.
Oh, okay, I thought you were gonna say 3 something.
No, dude, I was. Give it a couple more months. I might have been.
You were double you. You had 2 of you from when you were in Coast Guard days.
Yeah, literally, bro. I was 190, just solid, 190 yoked up. Anyways, the reason why I say that is I'm now down to 250. I weighed in this morning, and I was like, nice, let's go, keep going.
Good for you. Good for you. Another. Yeah. What's your short-term goal here? Another 10 pounds?
Yeah. So I'm trying to do about 5 pounds a month, maybe pushing it. But my goal is really to get down to, by the end of the year, if I can do 5 pounds, and it's just 6 months, right? We'll see what's up. But ultimately, and I've also been doing cleanses as well. So I do dry fast and water fast as well, intermittently while I'm losing weight, just to push out a lot of the parasites within my body, which affect you losing weight and everything like that. But ultimately, my goal is
where have you been hanging out, Pedro? Parasites.
That's actually really.
I mean, I've been to Africa.
It's called eating meat.
I got some weird shit, but ain't nothing crawling out my butthole.
Bro, you'd be shocked.
I just had a camera go up through the whole system. That baby is clean.
So my question is this: I'm. This is my first year of getting, and getting up, boop. And somebody told me, no, man, they don't do it that way now. At least here, I guess here in Connecticut, it's done a little bit different. And so, I went into the VA and stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, and they literally gave me a packet that I basically kind of
What Pedro's talking about, for those of you who aren't old enough yet, is your first colonoscopy because of age and stuff like that. And I chose to get the camera. You can choose now for a DNA test that tests for DNA of cancers and stuff like that.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it is.
And then if there's anything, then they'll go to the camera. I don't want the delay. I wanted a professional with an eyeball on it, and I get to see the video. You can literally see the video of the camera going up through the whole thing. And after you do that peg light stuff, there's nothing in there anyway. These 3-day cleanse and fasts for me are just that's bullshit. Drink that 5-liter thing of peg light, and man, your system is empty. It's just like eating something in Africa wrong, and you're after a couple of that's happened to me a couple of times, and one time in Kenya, one time in Central African Republic. Just got the poo hands, and you were cleansed. And that peg light stuff, man, that shit works. Woo!
But long story short, it's going to be that time.
Words for the wise, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. But clean yourself. Anyways, let's keep moving forward. So that's about it. We're at 2:13. 2 hours already passed.
It's time for me to go.
Yeah, same here. I gotta do a bunch of things. But Tom, it was a pleasure. Thank you for letting me talk here. And to all of you guys, please make a little bit of comments down in the little comment section at the bottom here. If you have any questions or any concerns, please ask us. We're quick to respond. Tom lets me know if somebody asks a question that he wants me to look up, or if you want me to look up a chart. Next week, I don't know. I mean, not next week, either tomorrow or the next day. We're going to look at again another couple memes. We're going to look at some of the memes that I've been looking at to see what's going on with them, and then we'll have some fun. So let's give you all heads up. Come in tomorrow, check out some memes. These are quick plays, or not quick plays, but these are kind of like small plays that we're looking to capture and to kind of catch in case they do a 50 or 100 or even 1,000x. So
Hundo X, that would be nice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Later, dudes. You too, Crypto Mike. It's always a pleasure, brother.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the show for today. Thanks to Pedro for coming and giving us all that good alpha about how Jerome Powell's stuff kind of does affect you or doesn't affect you. Currently, his so right at the exact moment of the outro. It's kind of, anyway, I'll skip all the platitudes. Ladies and gentlemen, the man in the box next to me is none other than Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. So glad to have hosted another episode of this great show. We'll be back here tomorrow at noon, so be there.